Dear students, good morning. Welcome to Law Excellence IAS. Let us start the discussion on today's newspaper, that is 14th August 2020. And we do not have many exciting articles today, but anyhow, we will continue with the discussion. The first article for discussion is Schools Without Freedom. This article is by Mr. Krishna Kumar, who was the former director of NCERT. What he states is, in early education, we emphasize on foundational literacy and numeracy. It is a priority, definitely. But along with that, he explores a new idea. A child needs to be connected with nature in early age, and he has to observe the natural phenomenon. Let's take rain or hot summer. Let him observe that and let him learn something from that. It helps him to realize his true creative potential. So, observation and reflection, these are the two traits which we need to nurture in young minds of our children. The excessive emphasis which is given to literacy and numeracy and school and classroom based education is actually undermining this. The second, the biggest challenge for Indian education is over control, centralization, and bureaucratization. So, teacher is more seen with suspicion. Directorates, boards, they control teaching in a straight-jacketed fashion. They give you certain standard textbooks, and every child is expected to read those textbooks and pass the examination. If the education is decentralized around the local conditions, obviously observation and reflection is bound to increase. Further, autonomy given to the teacher makes a very big difference to the education in India. That is the take home point over here. In the midst of COVID 19, today we are talking about a new term that is called learning loss. So, the teachers, students, everyone are suffering from this particular learning loss. And teaching through, boards is got replaced teaching on tablets, etc. This kind of over technicalization of school education is better unwarranted. That's how the author is trying to say it as. In this context, I want to say a word from my friend Pullila Gopichan. He is a badminton coach. He stated this: change one generation of teachers and entire India will change. I will try to change it a bit. Change a generation of teachers. How? Make a generation of teachers empowered, the nation empowers. This is my take home point to you. The next article is Right by Birth. I have discussed this article in detail on 12th August 2020 newspaper. You can go through that again. So Supreme Court recent judgment has stated that women are also co-partners by birth. In 2005, Hindu Succession Act 1956 was amended to declare women as co-partners by birth. This will correct the inequalities and discrimination which is based on gender existing in Indian society. So, when this act was amended, further it was challenged in the courts. Then it was stated that the father from whom the woman is becoming a co partner shall be alive on the passage of that law, on the day of passage of law, that is September 9th and 2005. And the woman who wants to be a co-partner also shall be alive. These are the two conditions which are being stated. Now Supreme Court has clarified that as woman is a co-partner by birth, she need not be alive, or her father through whom she is getting the property also need not be alive, and she gets it as a right by birth. And second, her descendants, her children also can take the advantage even if she is not alive. That is the essence of this article. The next article is related to COVID 19. In COVID 19, developing and understanding a case fatality rate is not proper in India. What is case fatality rate? How many people succumbed to disease after getting infected? It is called case fatality rate. It helps us to understand the severity of infection. In this case, India needs to have a robust data collection, analysis, and reporting system, which is missing. That is what is necessary for health related statistics development. This is what article emphasizes here. The next article is historic ratification. Kingdom of Tonga has recently outlawed the child labor. It also ratified Convention 182 of International Labour Organization. What is this Convention 182? It prohibits sexual exploitation and child labor, trafficking, deployment of children in armed conflict, etc. So it means this Convention 182 is meant to upkeep overall well-being of children. So with Kingdom of Tonga outlawing child labor, the prohibition of child labor has become a universal convention now. So it is the first labor law which has become a universally ratified law today. That's what this article talks about. Next is, should early child care centers be opened sooner? Let us understand few things. We have got new learnings about COVID-19. It can also get transmitted through air. The droplets of COVID-19 are available in the air for a period of time. So that's why we need to be more careful with COVID-19. So the children has to have personal hygiene, wearing masks, keep themselves at a distance. So if you think that children are going to keep themselves at a distance in preschool and school, then you do not know anything about children. Children are bound to play together and hug each other. So the sense of touch that exists among the children, you cannot make them to move away from that. So obviously safety concerns are very high. In this case, the vulnerability of children to the virus is very high. Second, we do not have sufficient funds to upgrade our infrastructure to meet the COVID 19 standards. So, physical distancing and then providing for masks, sanitizers, everything at Anganwadi centers probably is not possible unless there is some serious thought, action, and commitment towards it. People have to move towards these early schools. It means public transportation have to be active. If no public transportation is available, this may not be workable. And remember, as jobs, people are expected to go to jobs. The demand for opening the early childhood schools or early care centers is increasing. But however, keeping the safety of child in mind, it is not wise to start the early schools now. The next article is UAE and Israel reach agreement to establish diplomatic ties. Remember, Israel is more or less an outcast in the Arab world. So, for the first time, an Arab country, a Gulf Arab country, UAE, is establishing diplomatic ties with Israel. And obviously, other countries are also expected to follow the suit. UAE has become the first Gulf Arab country and the third Arab country as a whole to establish diplomatic relations with Israel. Then, what the Israel is promising, it has agreed to suspend plans to annex parts of West Bank. So, you need to know Palestine Israel problem in detail to understand why this particular agreement or particular diplomatic open up is important for Israel. I will discuss that particular issue in detail for you in a separate video. The next article is about minimum government, maximum governance. So, Prime Minister announces taxpayers charter. Remember the word taxpayers charter. What is a charter? Charter is a set of commitments made by an organization or government to its beneficiaries, stakeholders, or customers. That's what we call it as a charter. Now, Prime Minister of India is talking about taxpayers charter, which is named as a transparent taxation, honoring the honest. So, he wants to decrease the pain of the taxpayers by removing them or keeping them away from unnecessary harassment from unscrupulous tax officers. He called this as faceless assessment, faceless appeal, and taxpayers chart. He wants to shift the entire tax system as a seamless, painless, and faceless experience. So, it means tax reforms are expected to build a nation where people will be proud to pay their taxes. In this case, the document identification numbers will be issued from a central database using the artificial intelligence and data analytics. The field officers, or else the field jurisdictions, will be done away with. There will be no territorial jurisdictions. That's what this article talks about. The final article for today is consider more languages in government. You know that Official Languages Act 1963 allows for the conduct of business of Government of India and the Supreme Court in two languages, that is Hindi and English. Obviously today technology is improved. You can easily translate one language into the other language. In this context, CJI, Chief Justice of India Bobde, requested government to amend the Official Language Act 1963 to include more vernacular languages to transact the business of government and courts in India. Obviously, it will increase the reach of governance to millions of the people in this country. How it happened, you know that environmental impact assessment draft rules are kept in public domain. They are kept in English and Hindi. In this context, what the Delhi High Court has requested, please make them available in vernacular languages as it affects every person in this particular country. So in this context, why can't we amend Official Languages Act, is the suggestion of Chief Justice of India.